Hey guys, I just wanted to show you guys something. This spider here, and see, here's my really pretty croton that you guys let me know what that was. But let me see if I can zoom in on him, guys. There's a spider, and he's been living here for oh, where is he? He camouflages. There he is, guys. And I think he's called a banana spider, but look how intricate his web is. Because I was thinking, well, is that a gum wrapper or a candy wrapper he's got going on there, but it's not. That is his actual web that he has spun, and look how intricate it looks. It's like a zipper, it's like a zigzag design, and I thought, wow, he is so beautiful and colorful, and so is the croton. And guys, well, Jeff S. Hey there, Jeff, our brother, was sharing some dreams with me and some visions that he had had. And he shared them really a couple of months ago. And I've been having some tech problems, so I never, like reported on it or anything. But it was kind of a confirmation to me, and I think what a lot of other people have a tendency to think as well, because he was saying, the fall feasts that are coming up, he goes, I have a feeling that the Lord could fulfill them in sequential order rather quickly, for the everlasting salvation of Jacob, very similar to how he fulfilled with his death, burial, and resurrection the spring feasts at his crucifixion and his resurrection. And I'm like, well, yeah. And, I've thought this for a couple of years myself, maybe not back 5 or 10 years ago, but, I didn't really know about the feasts and different things like that. But, a lot of us do now that, study end days prophecies. And he was saying, hey, could it be? And he said, I feel like I had a flash vision that showed me this too, that, that the Feast of Trumpets is when, Jesus comes in the clouds and sets his foot down on Mount Olive, and splits it in two. And he's coming with 10,000 of his saints riding behind him on white horses, and, destroys the enemy with the brightness of his coming. And I'm like, well, yeah. And then also, not only that, but, the feast, what do they call it? Day of Atonement, basically, or Yom Kippur, that he would then have the Battle of Armageddon behind him. And what does it say? That for almost, I think it's 200 miles, that the blood will be up to the bridle of the horses. And there's over 200 million soldiers that come against Israel in that battle. And then, of course, with the, as people call it, the Feast of the Ingathering, or Sukkot, or the day basically that the feasts end in the fall, ends with the tabernacles, or Jesus dwelling among us, which the 1,000-year millennial reign will be set up after that into the 7-year tribulation. And so I thought, yeah, Jeff, that's exactly what I think a lot of us have thought. So if that be the case, that and you can't get dogmatic about it. I'm not going to get dogmatic about anything but Christ and Him crucified. But nevertheless, if we are looking at foreshadows and things like that, yes, those feasts could be fulfilled all at one time with the second coming of Christ at the end of the tribulation. But as far as the rapture of the church, we can't say that it can't happen on a feast day. But isn't it more likely that it would be just a normal day? I mean, Jesus said, you know, it'll be as in the days of Noah. People would be eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. And I heard Brother Barry talk about that this morning, and it's true. I mean, in essence, they'll be surprised. They'll be thinking, "Oh, what? It's our best life now." The economy's doing fairly well, and the peace plan's rolling out. And what does the scripture say about that? It says that for whence they say peace and safety, that sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman in labor, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness. You're children of the day and children of the light, so that that day will not take you unaware. And so we do see all these things coming to pass. I mean, what did the book of John say about that? I'm telling you these things ahead of time, so that when you see them coming to pass, you'll know it was me. And he did speak the end from the beginning. And so I'm looking up, and I know a lot of you guys are too. I think that there's a lot of reasons to be looking up right now. And I'm never going to get, like, to the point of where I'm going to get hung up on a date, or anything like that. I have done that before in the past, kind of not really put all my chips in on and saying, hey, it's going to be this day or something like that. But nevertheless, we all know that we've thought that certain times were higher watched than others. But so I'm not going to think on a particular date, but I do think that this time frame that we're in, like this, right now, like September, and even leading up into the feasts, and leading up into the peace plan rolling out, and Jeff, our brother that I was talking about here earlier about his dreams and his visions, Jeff S. He also had mentioned that, have you heard about, the Sanhedrin inviting 70 nations, even including the Islamic nations, to take part in basically a peace day, and the sacrifices and everything. And I heard Sis Sherry say, yeah, there has to be a start to it. And we all know that last Hanukkah, there was a dedication of the altar with a sacrifice. And then here recently on another day, they had a sacrifice. And so these things are starting to happen more frequently. And what does it say in the book of Daniel, that, that whenever the Antichrist comes in, that he will, confirm a covenant with many, and that's Daniel 9:27. I think, okay, 9:27 is a week from Friday, and I'm just teasing, guys. But I mean, nevertheless, I mean, like, I think that the Lord is orderly about things, and I think that there are many clues in the Scripture that we have as to why we know that it's our time to be looking up now, and it does say in the Scripture that it is the glory of God to conceal a thing and the honor of kings to search it out. And so I feel like that's what we're doing, is, calling out to a lost world that, it's time to accept Jesus now, that the day of salvation is today, and the true gospel. Where does it say in 1 Corinthians 15, chapter 1 or chapter 15, and it's verse 1 through 4, he says that, therein is the gospel of which I preached to you, unless you believed in vain, and that Christ died according to the Scriptures, that he was buried and rose again according to the Scriptures. It's the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, and that to believe on him. And so, guys, I tell someone about Jesus today, and the just will walk by faith, and we walk by faith and not by sight, and so, we are looking up with joy and love and faith in our hearts. And so I love you guys, and I'm sure we'll talk really soon.